today, Monday morning, in hospitals where the digital health record was rolled out, not exactly a very good day, at least according to our guest. Dr. Grégoire Bernèche is president of Quebec's Radiologists Association. We spoke last week, Doctor, about what might happen come the rollout. Well, now we have, of course, a couple of days behind us. They said, the weekend was the time to work out the kinks. What happened today?
Hi, Mr. Ron. Yes, so there were definitely a lot of kinks. As of early this morning, I would have told you probably the same narrative as Santé Québec did, which I think was truthful, which is that there were several bugs, in the thousands of bugs, but which were all minor and addressable. Just an example, this weekend, some ER doctor I know went on the floor for his shift, and he was registered on Epic, which is the digital health record platform, as a psychiatrist. So obviously, the psychiatrist does not have the same interface, and it might, slow things down a little bit when you work with a psychiatrist profile at the ER. That being said, it remained either comical or significant, but addressable, and you could see patient. But this morning at around 8 a.m., there was a huge, let's call it a crash, because I'm not an IT expert at all. So for 1 hour and even slightly more, the system was totally inaccessible for everyone on the floor in these two regions. So definitely this is a low point. The good news, because I'm an optimistic person, I might say, is that we knew there would be low points first on Saturday morning when the system went up. There was no major glitch at that point. And when everybody went to work on Monday morning was the second, I think, pressure point. And so I don't think we can go any lower than this, but we did go quite low this morning.
I'm reading here in a report that it said, I just received a photo of how vital signs are being transmitted right now in Sacré-Cœur in the emergency room. It's with brown paper for wiping on which the vital signs are written. Sounds pretty serious to me.
Oh, it does sound serious. I received that image early this morning from the person who took the vital signs. Actually, I was quite troubled by it. So I'm not trying to, downplay anything that happened this morning. Actually, this morning I was quite anxious about the situation. I'm being a bit more relaxed this afternoon because it, after all, only lasted 60 minutes rather than 60 days. So let's hope that it's going to stick. But there were definitely some major issues that were quite concerning this morning.
I would point out, to be fair, I know it's tough. You begin criticizing before it's even rolled out. We expected this thing to not necessarily run perfectly out of the box, to be fair, right?
Absolutely. And I think, I have to have some integrity as a doctor, as a citizen. I do criticize the healthcare system quite a lot, but we have to root for our own team, that team being the healthcare system. We're putting effort, money, good intentions behind a system that is more than necessary. I don't think we can simultaneously criticize the facts that we're still running on a fax system in the hospital, and simultaneously criticize the fact that we're doing digital transition. So, I think we got to recognize that there will be some things that will break, hopefully that they will be repaired. There is definitely a J-curve, so a learning curve. A lot of people will experience friction, but as I told you last week, I have experienced myself a transition with Epic in Ontario. I have worked with Epic several years. It's going to take a few days to at least get some productivity and possibly a few months to get a better productivity than with the previous system. But when you talk to anyone working with the system for more than a few months, nobody would go back to the previous things. And,
Sure.
As a radiologist, we've had our share of digital transition more than 20 years ago. I don't think that anyone would like to go back to the paper x-rays, So hopefully this is going to be the same opinion in a few days or months from now.
I would ask, as I look down a list of some of the problems that happen here, it's interesting, and I guess this is the thing. It's one thing to install a system and you think everyone's on board, and they're calling it a lack of super users to assist doctors using this. I thought that would have been taken care of before this was launched, was it?
I thought too. I do think that the number of people was adequate, but the degree of preparation of the individuals that were not super users was probably insufficient. A lot of people, they realized that they were assigned as a psychiatrist, as an ER doctor on the eve of the event. So obviously some people were maybe not as prepared as they should have, but this is going to happen on any transition. So this to me is I would say almost a feature, not a bug, unfortunately, of any transition. The preparedness level is different from an individual to another. But apart from that, I do think that there's no way to prepare that is as good as reality. You cannot invent patients and imagine some trajectory of patient from the ER to the maternity ward. So there was no perfect rollout. I think we had to rip the Band-Aid. We did it. Hopefully, I'm right when I say that this was probably the low point of the system rollout today. And if I'm wrong, I'll be back to correct myself.
I guess so. I would ask, just the one other point I'll point out, and maybe this is even perhaps more concerning, you let me know, the fact that confidential patient information was disclosed to unauthorized individuals. You think that would have been baked into a system where you wouldn't have even had to worry about that?
I definitely agree. I would point out that the paper files are not that confidential at all because they hang around physically all around the hospital all day. But if we are to enhance the security of our system, we should aim for perfection. So this is not acceptable.
I guess we'll leave it at that, and fingers crossed and hope for the best. Obviously, it's an important week to see this thing roll out, and maybe we can do a reevaluation in another week or so.
For sure. It will be my pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. So there you go. That's the rollout. Dr. Grégoire Bernèche, he is president of Quebec's Radiologists Association. By the way, worth noting, one of the issues from radiology specifically, from what I read, apparently, you couldn't even book an examination. The system didn't allow that. So that's one of the glitches or kinks. That's a great word to describe it as he did. But as I said, and as he said, it's going to take a while to get all the kinks out. Let's just hope it doesn't take longer than another few days.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio, hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll. We're coming to get you! One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them. It's only love, and that's all.
Bryan Adams Radio. I'm coming back to you. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds good.